Hello everyone, my name is Jinjoz and welcome to my Pokemon anime review series. Last episode, Ash challenged Brock to a Pokemon battle to gain the Boulder Badge. While losing his first attempt, he hooked up Pikachu to a hydroelectric pump, supercharged him, and still couldn't defeat him. Moved by his commitment and love for Pokemon, Brock gives him the Boulder Badge and decides to join him on his lifelong journey. With the trio complete, we move on to Season 1, Episode 6, Clefairy and the Moonstone, a start to a common episode type where we get to see a new Pokemon of the week. Speaking of Pokemon of the Week, our Who's That Pokemon of this episode, you guessed it, is Clefairy. Clefairy is a bipedal Pokemon that is pink in color, chubby, and vaguely star-shaped. It has a pair of tiny butterfly wings on its back. Though incapable of flight, Clefairy does store moonlight in its wings that allows him to float. Clefairy is very shy and is rarely seen by humans as they spend most of their nights dancing under the moonlight or sleeping in a colony of other Clefairy. Its Pokemon Stadium Pokedex entry reads, because of its adorable nature, it is in high demand as a pet. However, it is rare and found only in limited areas. Couple fun facts, Clefairy was originally going to be Ash's starter Pokemon and the mascot of the Pokemon Company, but a last-minute decision gave that role to Pikachu, and I'm pretty grateful for that. We start out our episode with the trio walking towards Mount Moon as the narrator talks of mysterious and astonishing tales that our heroes will soon discover are all true. Brock continues with this talk about a meteor that crashed into the mountain, calling it the Moonstone. As they enter the shadow of the mountain, they hear cries of help. They rush to the entrance to a cave where a bunch of Zubat are attacking a scientist. Ash takes a second to pull out Dexter to analyze the Zubat, while the voice of Dexter can barely be heard over the agonizing screams of our poor scientist. Pikachu makes quick work of the Zubat, and Seymour the Scientist is introduced, and when I say he is grateful, you need to watch this and to hear it to understand how grateful he actually is.
I'm so moved. Such friendship I thought I'd never see when the Zubat began attacking me. I thought I was done for when who should arrive, two heroes thanks to whom I'm alive. I'm alive! Thank you so much, thank you!
He certainly doesn't look like the poetic type.
Did I mention how grateful I am?
I think this guy is one of my favorite early characters, in my opinion. Seymour gives them a tour of the cave, showing them a string of lights throughout the cave that are disturbing the Zubat and a plethora of other Pokemon. He then bursts into a poem, telling them of the power and magnificence of the Moonstone, and that people will do whatever it takes to find it. He continues and tells them of the theory that Pokemon came from outer space, that the Moonstone isn't just an asteroid but was the spaceship that brought Pokemon to this planet. It's an original theory, as Misty comments. A Clefairy then just casually skips on by, holding a Moonstone. Ash catches it on his Pokedex, and while he wants to catch it, he is stopped by Seymour, who wants to keep the Clefairy habitat intact. Ash respects this and agrees not to. Clefairy lets out a squeal as Meowth menacingly stands on a high rock, its spiky and large shadow engulfing Clefairy, and he tells her not to be scared of Meowth. Then don't look so freaking menacingly. God, Meowth, jeez. The trio arrive on scene just in time for the Team Rocket motto and a bad guy exposition. The debut of the first level battle in the Pokemon anime is presented as Koffing and Ekans versus Butterfree and Zubat, one that Brock caught off screen as they entered the cave. Koffing sets up a smog attack, and we get what I think is a small translation error, as Ash has Butterfree do Whirlwind, and Brock has Zubat do a double team, but then they both end up doing Whirlwind. Either way, there is a bit of a scuffle. Zubat sets off another powerful status ability of Supersonic, and Team Rocket then blasts off with another Whirlwind from Butterfree. Clefairy, Misty, Seymour, and Meowth get out of the cave and end up in a river. Meowth goes in for the capture of Clefairy, but Misty's Staryu fills him up like a balloon using a water gun and lets him fly. They sit by the river, feeding themselves and Pokemon, Brock handing out some specially made Pokemon food for each Pokemon. Pikachu and Clefairy are spending some time together, and eventually Pikachu and Clefairy lead the trio to another cave that leads to the Moonstone. And honestly, it's pretty big and really sparkly. Clefairy then places the Moonstone she has been carrying around next to the bigger Moonstone. It begins to glow, and a gathering of Clefairy come together to dance. While they are mesmerized by this rare event, they don't fully understand what is happening. We then get one of my favorite reoccurring moments in the anime, charades with Pikachu. He is crossing his arms to say no, picking up Clefairy, slapping Ash for thinking that Clefairies like raisins, but eventually they learn that the Clefairy are praying to the Moonstone. Team Rocket then shows up again to mess things up. We get another double battle, but this time including Onix, which is so freaking daunting, and I can't ever see Onix losing. A smokescreen is set off, Pidgeotto blows it away, and as it clears, they see that Team Rocket burrowed under the Moonstone and stole it. They chase after them, but the Clefairy don't seem to be concerned. Onyx eventually catches up, bursting through the ground to stop them, but Coughing does perform a counter-attack, knocking out Onyx. Seymour and the Clefairy show up. The Clefairy start to use their signature move, Metronome. Eventually, a huge explosion occurs. The Clefairy are thrown around with a smile on their face as Team Rocket blasts off, and for the first time, we get the classic ding as they hurtle off into the sky. The Moonstone is also destroyed in the blast, and the fragments of it begin to rain from the sky, causing a handful of the Clefairy to evolve into Clefable. Though the next scene, the stone is back in its original spot, it doesn't look as big, it's a little roughed up, but the dancing does continue. Seymour decides to stay and live with the Clefairy, as he hopes to travel to space with them. The trio seems to be down for this, saying goodbye to them, and hope they get a postcard from him someday. As they head out, they come across a sign giving them directions to Cerulean City, to which Misty hangs her head lightly, giving us a bit of a foreshadow as to her not wanting to visit her home. As they read the sign, there is one small animation mistake, as Ash's hand has no glove on it. They look closer, though, to see that Gary was here, and he wrote that Ash is a loser. And just like Ash running off to Cerulean City, I hope you do so too, as the next episode we will be discussing about Season 1, Episode 7, The Waterflowers of Cerulean City, another pivotal episode in our hero's journey. While this episode format of Pokemon of the Week is a great way to introduce us to Pokemon in the Kanto region, this episode wasn't an all-timer, and if you skipped over it, I don't think you really would have noticed. You would miss Brock catching a Zubat, but we never knew that he didn't have that in the beginning anyways. Either way though, I hope you enjoyed the episode and that you have a wonderful day.